Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new, thanks for stopping by to watch, and if you're returning, thanks for staying up with the channel. Today we're finally going to discuss what I'm going to do with the ear corn I picked this fall. I actually had already started working on making this video, and my idiot self ended up downloading all the footage onto the GoPro app, and then I thought I'd saved it to my camera roll, and I didn't, and I deleted it all. So I guess we're starting from scratch today. So anyhow, hope you enjoy the video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks. Well, I went to start this last week and it would not start, so I took the battery in, and then it ended up being junk. So we got a new battery I'm going to stick in here to start with and see if she'll start. I couldn't have waited for a colder day to do this. It is, I believe my truck said it was 10 and the weather forecast said it was 7 out. But fortunately, what little wind we have, there's not a lot of it. And these terminals are opposite of what they need to be. There we go. I do have a pair of gloves, but I'm not a fan of trying to do this type of stuff with gloves on. Just can't ever seem to have the dexterity that you need. I also have this guy here to put in. Where's that fit? That. Gas is turned on. Let's crawl up here and see what happens. Well, I left the key on last time, but hey, you know what? That's not going to be a problem because the battery's dead and it's been out of it. So, give it some choke. Got the choke shut off. Started better than I thought it would. The 8010 and the 7010 have been plugged in for 2 hours. It got down to 5, I believe, last night, but I don't like cranking on the starters and giving them ether, so I always try and plug the tractors in. But we'll see how they start. I'll find some place to set you guys. let these warm up a little bit before I try and move them. While everything's warming up in the barn, I'm gonna sit in my pickup truck and I'm gonna warm up too. One thing I like about this truck is the butt warmers. And yeah, gloves feel nice if it's cold out, but if you're using your hands and they're already cold and you put them in gloves, they don't really do much to help bring them back up to temperature. Man, it'd be nice if the heater worked in this. But I turned it on for the first time this fall, made it a half mile down the road, and started smelling antifreeze, and evidently a heater hose up through here blew because it was running down the column there. But we're not using this tractor anyway. Since I got the D17 running, I'm more or less just going to back this wagon out with it and unhook it and pull it back in the barn. This is a screwy wagon that has a lot of slop in the tongue and likes to do whatever it wants. But one nice thing about having livestock is it keeps you sharp on your toes with backing wagons, and in a way I kind of like running the tractors in the winter, keeps the batteries charged up, and there it goes. Some days I can back a wagon like it's nobody's business, and then the very next day I can't do anything. Granted, I haven't maxed out the drawbar yet. Oop, there we go. Not what I had intended. I'll pull up and actually I don't need to pull up, I'll just circle around. And the only thing that could ruin this day, knock on wood, is if I find out I didn't have winter mixed diesel fuel and something gels up, which I have a sneaking suspicion the D17 won't. Of course, it's gasoline. So unhook this thing and I'm gonna pull it back in the barn for now and shut it off. I wonder if this thing will warm up until I get a load on it. So I forgot to mention and make a video explaining what I'm doing with this ear corn, but we're grinding it. We're sending it through the feed mill here. It's a Case IH 1250 feed grinder mixer. And if you've watched my previous videos on the dairy farm and my buddy Mike Plotner plowing, you'll know that he has a small dairy herd, and that is where this feed is going. It's going to feed some of his heifers. So sit back, enjoy watching us grind ear corn with the 7010 and Case IH 1250 feed grinder mixer. So something I gotta do here, I already started on it, is I'm cleaning out all the old junk feed that's been in this. Last time we used it, I found out that there was more in there than what I thought, and it kind of rotted, and the feed wasn't going down in the window, and I realized that it was kind of caked around the bottom and not letting the feed slide down the cone here. So basically I'm on top of the mixer here, and I get to crawl in this tiny little manhole and go to the bottom and clean that stuff out around the top there. It shouldn't be too bad or take very long. Alright, so we're inside the feed grinder here. I assume I will have put a tutorial of how this works before I get to this part in the video, but just an idea since we're in here and you can see everything. The ground corn comes out of this auger right here, and as it builds up, this auger mixes it and pulls it up this tube. And it has paddles on the top to wing it out around the top, and then as it mixes, it'll go down inside the mixer and go back up through the top, and then that there's the door you open to let the feed go into the auger to unload, and this hole down here by my foot is the mineral auger, where if you want to put mineral or put additives in it that you don't want going through the grinder, they can come in this way. So as you can see, I'm scraping up this chunky stuff. That's what we don't want in the feed. That's rotten, moldy feed from who knows how long, and No, this doesn't sit out in the rain. It's just a couple years of condensation and sweating and freezing and thawing, making the metal sweat moisture, and it's what makes all this crap rot. And it's disgusting. If I was a cow, I wouldn't want to eat it either. Well, I've mostly got this all cleaned out and pushed out the door. We should be in good shape. Now I get to climb back up and squeeze through this tiny little hole. That's not fun. It was terrible getting in because the flap for the top of the auger that throws everything out is sticking out and got everything's blowing back in here. Got stuck on my coat and it was a pain in the butt, but getting out should be easier. Well, just so you guys know I'm not bluffing, it says it's 12 and it feels like -5, and I believe it was 6 this morning and probably around 8 or 9 when I came here and plugged the tractors in. But truck says it's 14, but I also have a black truck, so I assume it's probably a little bit warmer because it's absorbing the sunlight. But anyhow, waiting for Mike to get here. I'm hoping I can get some footage. The camera's been acting up a little bit in the cold, so. Good ears.